All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Adaptive Innovations in Manufacturing webinar series. Every Tuesday, we come together with an industry expert to celebrate the course of design, innovation, and collaboration. Today's topic is what makes a great hardware product. And we have Vijay Varda, who is the CEO of Fractal Works, with us today. He'll take you on his journey of experimentation and innovation in the field of digital manufacturing. Hi, Vijay. Thank you for taking time and being here with us. So glad to have you.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here. All right. All right. So we'll begin.
Yes, let's do that.
So thank you all for joining me. I'm excited to be here, and honestly, like that opening video from Autodesk, that is something that definitely is inspiring. I didn't see that before. Yes, we are definitely in the future of making, and after seeing that video, I realized that hey, I've unknowingly been sort of a part of it in one way. So hi everybody, I am Vijay. I run a company called Fracktal Works based in Bangalore. We manufacture 3D printers, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my making journey and how we started the company. I mean, you can probably tell I'm a little young. So how did I get to here? What are we doing? Who are we even? And sort of what are we doing right now? I think that is very important. I think most of the people joining from India, or even again I'd say globally, will know what is the situation in India. And currently, as we speak, actually we are working on something that will uh, help mitigate against the issue, or be a part of the solution. So I'll get to that. This is my making journey, and this making journey of mine starts from the very beginning. This making journey begins with breaking. So as a child, not many people would buy me toys, and with good reason, because most of them would end up like this. But my dad was a smart man, and he said I could have whatever I wanted, but the only caveat was that I had to make it myself. I had to build it myself. And sort of this got me into the making journey. This made me into a maker. And while making things, I would make a lot of different cars, bikes, buildings, I don't know what, robots, uh, so many different things. And while making them as a kid, I would sort of imagine myself like Dexter. He was my idol. I would emulate him as much as possible, and sort of based on him, I more or less set my all my career goals. So I want to be like Dexter. I wanted to be I mean, I can't really say what is he, an engineer, is he a scientist, what is he, but I want to do what he did. And if you're from India, there's only a few, at least like when you're growing up, there are only a few career options that take you into this field, one being engineering. So another thing over here which is interesting for me is the sort of I didn't know that there are different branches of engineering at that point of time. I knew that sort of I just wanted to be like Dexter. He used to do electronics, he used to do mechanical, he used to build robots. So the closest thing in India was mechatronics. So I decided to be a mechatronics engineer. And in sort of true blue fashion, I lived up. I hope I made Dexter proud, because most of the time in college was spent building robots, sumo wrestling robots, robots that were working together, robots that shoot, autonomous robots that follow lines. I don't know. So sort of I completely threw myself into the process of building robots and the process of making robots. So the next stage, what happened was one of these robots that I was building got a lot of attention from the college. This was a robot that could be controlled with brain waves. So it would have a headset that records the activity in my brain, and use and process that information, and use inputs from that to drive a robot. So what ended up happening was my university, Manipal University, got interested, and they were like, hey, why don't you start a company for building wheelchairs for the paraplegic? And I was still in the second year of college. Really, I was just halfway through uni, and this opportunity seemed interesting. I mean, I knew next to nothing about entrepreneurship at that time. So I was like, hey, this is an interesting opportunity. Why don't we explore it? I mean, I still have a couple of years away from graduating. Ultimately, this will look good on my CV. This will look good on my resume. I'll probably either get a good job, or again, at that point in time, I wanted to study in MIT. That was my like one and only goal back then. So I'm like, okay, let's try this out. Let's try out this entrepreneurship thing and get started. So until then, all the robots, everything that we made, like you can see in this picture, were hacked together. Uh, Tiffin boxes and some off the shelf components like bare wires. I mean, far from what a product should look like. And now we're starting a company. Now we are building a product, and I mean, definitely, I knew that we had to up our game if we have to do anything about it. I mean, I was still sort of not confident about whether it'll work, the paraplegic sort of wheelchair along with the headset. But I'm like, hey, like I have enough time in college, it's great experience. Let's just get started and see where it goes. So more or less, I negotiated with failure at the very beginning itself and was okay with it and got started. So that is where sort of my relationship with CAD and Autodesk sort of began. So at that point of time, Iron Man 3 had just come out, if you're familiar. And if you remember, in that particular movie, he operates the suit with a mind control headset, and I'm like, this is exactly like that. And so basically, with this inspiration, I this exact same this is the exact same screen grab that 8-9 years ago I had a dual monitor setup back then. I would have this, and I decided to get started with CAD. And ultimately, I think a major decision for most companies also is generally, what CAD package to select and what CAD package to use. And for me, as a second year in university, I had no clue. One thing I knew, that I don't want to use a CAD package that I was taught in college. I mean, that was something that I struggled with for whatever reason. And sort of my relationship with the computer aided design back then was not so great. I I wouldn't say hate, but like it wasn't enjoyable. The process wasn't enjoyable. So when I wanted to make this, basically recreating this headset, I was looking around for what CAD package to use. For whatever reason, I can't like put my finger on it. I ended up using Autodesk Inventor. Um, this is in 2013 and 2012, 2013. And ultimately, I think the biggest selling point to me as a student back then was the student, the educator license is free for student, like full featured everything I'm getting. I'm like, and again, it was the video, it was a tutorial video that really like really was helpful. I think the learning curve was really great, because I think I sat myself down in my room for 2 days straight, only taking bathroom breaks. I did not go to college, and I learned Fusion. I mean, I wouldn't say I learned Inventor, but I was able to create this headset. I mean, I can't find, for the life of me, I can't find where this design is, but I created this headset in Inventor from zero to like this in 2 days. I mean, definitely now I'll be faster, but I think I was pretty happy with my progress back then. But that's where I hit my next roadblock. I had a design, right? I took for granted how easy it is to make things. We went around asking for support from industries, people who are in manufacturing, and really who really entertains a couple of college kids who have not much money, no, like your business plan, everything is questionable. Why will you help? So we're like, okay, we have to find out some other alternative. In one of our escapades in another college, we were introduced to I think two important concepts, which were again extremely new to me at that point of time. One was the one was 3D printing in itself. This new manufacturing technology that is ability to take my 3D CAD files that I've just like painstakingly over the last few weeks made and designed, and can recreate that in a physical form. And then I'm like, hey, this is like just the logical next step. And open source hardware, this entire concept of open source, meaning all the source files, all the documentation to recreate uh, something is available and made available to the community, and there's a vibrant community of people exchanging information and ideas. So that's what sort of like completely blew our minds and said, hey, 3D printing is the next thing. This is how we're going to make a product. Let's get started with 3D printing. So what happened was, using the open source documentation, we built our first 3D printer. I mean, we sort of took for granted, thinking, hey, we'll just make it and start manufacturing our product. But ultimately, that's not how things went down. The printer did not work really well. The design had a lot of issues. I remember like setting up in the office space that our college had given us. I would sleep next to the printer to listen for noises, to sort of wake up and fix things. But ultimately, as engineers, and again, as I'd say, still students in college, and we found this shiny new thing. This sort of like we forgot about the headset altogether, and we're like, hey, 3D printing is really cool. Let's do this. So it was an interesting sort of like process where we were 3D printing upgrades for the 3D printer itself. So we would first again see what is wrong with the machine, how it can be improved. We had like a digital twin on the CAD package, where we would sort of modify certain parts, 3D printer on the printer, put it back on the printer, and upgrade itself. So sort of what happened over time is that printer sort of evolved and got to a stage where it really started looking like a product, again unintentionally, because at this point we were still this is not again a business model. What ended up happening was students from all over the college started coming to us, getting projects made, getting things printed, and it was it was extremely gratifying for us, helping all these people, and ultimately a lot of them were paying us for these parts. So we realized that not only do we have one company already registered, we now also have a product that we can sell. So ultimately, we just gave a presentation to our the head of the incubator, saying that, hey, we're not doing this mind control headset thing, but we have this product, and this is what we want to get started with. And that's what more or less that's how we started manufacturing 3D printers. While I think I just got into third year of college, and we started manufacturing these machines. And I mean, that's how we began the entrepreneurship journey. It's been a long time since then. We've come a long way. We manufacture a range of machines, starting from desktop to industrial 3D printers. And again, so I mean, sort of CAD has such a big important role to play in the entire process that we use for manufacturing our machines. We don't realize sort of how easy it is to sort of prototype. Like in our first stage of prototyping is actually all digital, where we make sure like the limits, the machine, the sheet metal, all of that is sort of taken care of in the design. And mostly like 80 to 90% of the design work is all digital. And then we sort of give it off with different fabricators and sheet metal guys and a CNC machining guys, and get it done. And more again follow the process that was in the CAD design to assemble it. I think since then I've started interacting with a lot of industrial companies in Bangalore, in Pune, where we work. A lot of them are still sort of working on 2D drawings and documentation, AutoCAD, sharing 2D. A lot of them even design in 2D. I have no idea how that is possible, but there's some master draftsmen that sort of like can figure out everything on a 2D piece of paper and figure it out. But ultimately, uh, honestly, like a bunch of students were able to use latest in technology and the definitely probably at that point unproven practices, but were able to sort of start a company. So again, so that is the story of the company, and that is the story of what I do. at Fractal, what we do as a company. And I probably wanted to take some time about some of the other projects that I've been working on. So smartphones are really amazing and enables us to do everything from travel to eat. But in the absence of physical buttons, it's left a whole group of people behind. It's the visually impaired that struggle to use smartphones because they have no tactile feedback. So we designed and 3D printed TPO interface for the visually impaired, which basically gives back physical tactile buttons on a smartphone. It's a keyboard accessory that basically you input in the form of braille, and the visually impaired people can start accessing the features of smartphone. And again, all the files were again, because we started digitally, right? Again, this was something that I was able to do on the side, and because the tools that I had access to me really made things so simple to me, I could sort of use my spare time to work on something like this. And because the open source sort of community and the open source sort of ecosystem has given me so much, all the files have been shared open source. And really that is where sort of this aspect of scalability comes in. If you think about it, I mean, once I shared my files, again, there were makers from all across the world who were taking my designs, modifying them, integrating them. So this is like a full-blown smartphone which is integrated with the buttons that is required. So this is a great example of how these new fundamentals of technology with CAD design, with 3D printing, is really changing the way innovation works, and how knowledge can be distributed, how products can be distributed, and solutions can be distributed. I'm also incredibly passionate for the environment. I've been cycling for the last 15 years. I still do. So, I mean, last year alone, I did about 5,000 kilometers on a cycle. But I really wanted to do more. I mean, climate change is the greatest threat facing mankind, and I wanted to be part of a greater solution. So that's where I learned about Robert Swan. He's the first man to walk to both poles, and sort of fell in love with his undying commitment to fix the planet. He selected me to go on this journey with him to Antarctica with some amazing people, some of the best people I've met in my life, on this journey to Antarctica, ranging from scientists to musicians to policymakers. And sort of me as an engineer, as a creator, as a maker, I wanted to sort of take my own personal story to Antarctica. I wanted to use Antarctica as a platform to inspire others like me, makers and engineers, to inspire them and take up arms against the problem of climate change. And I used the tools available to me. The tools available to me were open source hardware, 3D printing, and the intention was to get started with renewables as easy as possible. And so again, ultimately, this resulted in us setting up the world's first 3D printed wind turbine in Antarctica. And there is a penguin on this picture for like proof that this is in Antarctica, not anywhere else, because penguins are only in Antarctica. Sorry, you said something?
Yeah, this is truly amazing.
Thank you so much. So definitely, I mean, like, the experience itself was sort of like unbelievable. Sadly, it feels like sort of, that the best experience of your life is behind you. That's sort of a powerful thought. And sort of, I live life right now looking for just like kicks which could sort of at least somehow match the experience that I had in Antarctica as an engineer and just as a human being. And again, so I was not alone in this effort. It wasn't just me. I got support from all over the world to get me and fund me on this expedition to Antarctica. Even during the setup, there were people that I just met at the expedition that helped me set it up. And sort of this not only became a symbol for how engineers can be part of the problem, but became a symbol of teamwork, how we have to come together and solve the problem. And obviously, I mean, CAD was an integral part of this. I mean, it's almost like the process, right? The process, while I was creating this presentation, creating this webinar, I realized how big of a part Autodesk and CAD and Fusion 360 has been a part of my journey, and sort of like it becomes invisible almost, right? When something is so simple, when things are simple, they become invisible, and sort of that is how CAD design has become for me. And sort of this is some screen grabs that are captured. Now the image on your lower left is basically not something not I've created. That my prototype was white in color. I shared the design files online. I created a file with it, shared all the CAD designs. Now people from all across the world are recreating this, building wind turbines inspired by the story of the wind turbine in Antarctica. So again, that like I was telling you about the scalability, what digital design and digital fabrication has can possibly have an impact is I mean, I'm incredibly hopeful for the future. I'm incredibly excited to see what this new paradigm of distributed, how do I say, distributed manufacturing, distributed knowledge sharing, distributed innovation really means for the years to come. And again, ultimately, it's all about teamwork, right? I would be nowhere if without my team at Fractal that helps me develop machines, build machines, and sort of develop myself as an entrepreneur. Similar to that, sort of that is exactly what is happening with open source and CAD design. It's sort of we're sort of becoming a global team of people who are working together, solving problems, distributed knowledge, distributed innovation, distributed manufacturing. I think this is a crazy, exciting paradigm for the future. And again, talking about the future, I do believe the best way to predict the future is to create it, and with the foundation of teamwork, foundation of community building, foundation of distributed manufacturing. I think again, it's going to be a great future. So this sort of ends the first phase of my presentation. Just want to check in. How much time do I have? Am I going as per pace?
All going good?
All going good. So
Yeah.
the next phase, again, I'm going to be really quick about this. This part I just threw together today. So I'm currently in Goa at Makers Asylum, because I mean, if most of you might be aware of the dire situation that India is in because of oxygen shortage. So as makers, as engineers, as creators, what we're doing the best we can to be a part of the solution and contribute our time, resources, community, our network to be a part of the solution. So some of the things that we're working on right now, we are recreating the Oxikit, which is an oxygen concentrator, which originally is an open source project, an open health project from the US. Since all the files have been released open source, we are using that as a backbone to indigenize the design, get local supply chain going for it, local parts going for it, and and recreate this entire project locally. The intention is not to just create one, because again, we need to make it as scalable as possible. So the intention is to recreate it, create a master prototype. We're going to document the heck out of it, everything from the electronics processes, mechanical processes, assembly, create quality assurance, quality control documentation, and we're going to share this documentation with everybody across the country. Now we have signed up maker labs and companies and individuals who have the capability, who have identified as a capability to sort of recreate and manufacture these oxygen concentrators. And with working with Makers Asylum, we are working with a centralized way in which we can handle the supply chain and funding, and we will be distributing the supply chain as well as funds to all maker labs and maker spaces all across the country, and support them to build oxygen concentrators in a distributed way. So sort of like, again, more or less the entire story that I've told you so far from the beginning is sort of a lead up to this, saying that, hey, this new paradigm of making, manufacturing, and sharing information, this distributed manufacturing, this digital manufacturing, again, the scalability of the internet, scalability of communication that we have today, can we apply that to solve this problem? And That's exactly what we're doing. We are documenting in detail the process of recreating the concentrator, as well as some other smaller projects that aid to solving the problem of oxygen shortage in India. And we're going to be sharing it with labs that have signed up all across the country. We are right now onboarding the labs, making sure they have the right equipment, the right know-how, the right people, the right processes set up, so that as soon as we're done over here at the asylum, we can share the information, disseminate the information, and they can get started with building. At the same time, some of the labs are incredibly advanced in their processes and have already almost finished building their prototypes. So in parallel, uh, various labs are recreating the original Oxikit project. So again, still to see whether it's going to be successful or not, but I can tell you we're trying to do our best to sort of try and be a part of the solution by doing what we know best, by applying what we know best. And sort of tying that back in again, since this webinar is about Autodesk and CAD and the future of making, sort of just want to throw in something there where, say, I mean, this is actually a screen grab from the Oxikit project, where I just from my phone I took a picture of the video that the guys in the US shared about how to assemble it. And locally, we were not able to get these two parts. These are two parts of a drain, which basically, through which you have a filter on it, which compresses the zeolite, which is the main molecular sieve which separates nitrogen and oxygen. So this was the critical part that we were not able to source locally. So I'm like, hey, this is something that is straightforward enough. Let's just 3D print it. So, okay, let's go ahead. So I just took this phone. I didn't even like bother to send the video. I just took an image of a picture from my phone on the laptop, saying that these two components I need, get it done within the next few hours. My team back in Bangalore designed the part, and just a few minutes later, we started a 3D print here at the asylum, and a few hours later after that, we have a part. And sort of it is, again, right now, honestly, like me, I take this process for granted. It is so simple, it is so straightforward, but I know people out there who would be mind blown about what we're able to accomplish with this today. So community and collaboration is the new paradigm for product development. And definitely process is important. But honestly, like, the process of creating and making has become so easy and transparent. And honestly, I mean, I am definitely an Autodesk fanboy, primarily because that's where I got started with. But I mean, the process is so easy, and I mean, I would like to commend the Autodesk team at building such a great product and products that are sort of creating so much impact, and almost to the fact that they are so easy to use that they become invisible in the creation making process. Again, and also talking about process, um, again, me and we were talking early, this morning. I was having a conversation with the Autodesk team about, hey, what is the best way to conclude this presentation? What is the best way to sort of what is the best takeaway to give? And they gave me some feedback about getting too hung up about the process of creating certifications, getting certified, and then only sort of making things. And in all honesty, I mean, definitely creating some of these things needed process, needed some amount of expertise, but that should never be a hindrance from you to getting started on working on solutions that matter. There's this great quote that I love, saying that you can't steer a parked car. You need to get started. The process is going to be messy. I mean, so best of the best companies in the world, you can have a look at them. You might see, their engineering design process might look like extremely streamlined. You can say that, hey, these guys have figured it all out, but ultimately you just see the end result, right? And you assume that it's been like that from the beginning. But no, the product development process is incredibly messy. You have multiple ideas, you have multiple parallel things. It's a hodgepodge of things going on, but ultimately that chaos sort of eventually tends to anger. Sorry, if chaos eventually tends to order. and you need to trust in that process. Have faith in the process that it is sort of messy at the beginning, and it sort of uh, tends to get clarity. And that's sort of like what this ending example sort of completely shows, right? Again, there's no process over here, but ultimately the tools are so easy that all of these tools have enough margin for error, so that you'll be able to sort of figure it out at the end. And that is what sort of I want to get the biggest take back for people watching this is, be again, there's a lot of things to be done in this world. Again, like right now, there are enough problems that we have, enough problems that need solutions. We need problem solvers. There are great tools what Autodesk makes, that help us in creating. Let's not get too hung up in the processes. Let's put our efforts into actually solving the problems. Okay, let's get started. Let's start the car, and eventually things start making sense. And eventually, that's how I feel. Again, coming back to the topic of this question, that's how great products are made. Definitely there are processes involved, but again, it is not the fundament. It's not something that has to be restrictive. I think on this line, I just want to sort of share one more story, where initially, like the initial pictures that I showed you of our printer, where were made with acrylic, but acrylic would break when we were shipping it all across the country, and ultimately we had to shift to sheet metal. And again, we had no clue about sheet metal design. Like, none of us were experts in sheet metal design. Somebody had a suggestion, hey, like let's make things with sheet metal. And the CAD package had a sheet metal option, right? And we just saw a few tutorial videos online and sort of started making. We had no idea with thumb rules, best practices, DFM, nothing. We made a design. We approached a sheet metal manufacturer, and ultimately, like the owner showed us off, saying that, hey, this is not something that we can make. You have no idea how to design. Go away. But ultimately, what ended up happening was that the designer from that company helped us out. So sort of we would sit next to the designer. He would help us sort of make modifications, saying that, hey, like this flange needs to be minimum this size, this radius needs to be this much. We were like, hey, okay, fine, this makes sense, and use that. And that's how we sort of made our first sheet metal 3D printer, which sort of now looks a lot more like a finished product than the end. And so that's what I'm saying. You just get started, and tools are available. Knowledge you will eventually gain, and it's important to get started towards the solution. And so yeah, that is me. If you have any questions, again, we'll be taking questions on this forum as well. But in case you want to reach out to me ad hoc, again, at the rate Vijay Varda on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. You can reach out to me at VJVARADA at the rate FRACKTAL.in. Follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. Visit our website to know more about us. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I did justice to the topic. Definitely not very technical, but again, I would say it's not about technicalities. All of those things are easy to pick up, but it's about what story are you building for yourself and your company. Thank you so much.
Very well, Vijay. Thank you so much. Such an inspiring talk, and it does talk about the intricacies, challenges, and possibilities that people can learn from your experience to make the great hardware product. Great insights, Vijay. We are already getting a lot of love from the participants in the chat window. I'm reading all the comments. People are appreciating your very inspirational and motivating talk. So, guys, next Tuesday, we have another session on modern machine shops. Collaboration, security, and time-saving tips are essential for a thriving machine shop. And in this webinar, you will learn how to how to set up your machine for success with Fusion 360. I appreciate all the participants and Vijay and Anand for being here with us, talking about the workflows and success for the product design. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for joining me. I hope you had fun. Please reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to me if you have anything else.
Thank you so much, Vijay. Thank you, Varun.
Thank you.
Thanks, participants. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day and stay safe.